Most PoCs in tech prove that the technology works, but almost none of them prove that a deal can actually close. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 questions that separate a science project from a commercial proof of concept. And I'll start by talking about a deal I lost last year. I know what you're thinking to yourself. You won a PoC, but you lost the deal. You're a slacker.
You're a slacker.
Well, I'm everything but not a slacker, I promise. Last year I was involved on a brand new deal with a prospect, and I thought everything was running great, really. We had a champion who was super interested in our technology. The data engineering team was super involved. We ticked all the boxes, we smashed all the metrics, we were faster, we were cheaper than the current technology they were using. And I thought this is gonna be a home run. I never had any doubt in my mind that this deal is just a matter of signing. Boy, was I wrong. The emails from the champion started fading away. They were shorter and shorter. He stopped taking our calls. The deal was postponed for next quarter, and then in the next quarter again postponed for next quarter. And then finally we heard from the actual economic buyer that there is no deal on the table and that they're not going to invest into our product right now. In my mind, that was a perfect PoC. What the heck happened with this? What did we do wrong? The problem is the PoC went perfectly, but the deal was dead before we even started the PoC. Here's what really went wrong with this. First of all, the PoC was answering the wrong questions. Second, the champion, we thought he was a champion, but he was actually only interested in our product because it's a cool product, cool vendor, and it's a cool thing to have it in the CV. So it was purely a learning product for his personal career advancement. The third thing is we never spoke to the real economic buyer. We didn't really know what their goal is. So basically we didn't know which business goals the product should fulfill. So we had no idea what the interest of the economic buyer is. They proved we were faster, easier to use, and cheaper. It was a great science project, everyone enjoyed it, but it was commercially irrelevant. Let's now talk about a different example. Sometime later, I got involved with a financial services company, and they also wanted to do a PoC with us, and I immediately saw so many flags. Right off the bat, we agreed to do a 4-week-long PoC and a 4-week-long PoC for a SaaS product that really works like this. In my opinion, that was just too much time. It was the first red flag. The next red flag was that the team was very busy. The engineers that were supposed to work on that were busy, so I did a lot of work. So it was like a PoC, but without so much skin in the game by the customer. And then our champion was really skeptical all the time. As soon as we would show them something from the criteria list, he would say, "That's really cool, but how do I do this and this?" So these new requirements kept popping up. The scope was really creeping. We were getting a bigger and bigger scope. Right, so many red flags. I was losing enthusiasm. Then after longer than 4 weeks, probably, it took us 6 or 8 weeks. We sat down and we said, okay, the PoC, we are officially ending it. Both sides agree on that. We declared it a win. We created a small deck to present the results of the PoC. The champion took it with them and disappeared. Well, I just moved on to another PoC. I wrote that off. My own confirmation in my mind, yeah, that was total waste of time. Nothing's gonna happen from this. And I just moved, working with the next customer, helping the actual real customers who actually really want to do something with our product. But then 1 quarter later, the AE comes back and says, "Hey, remember that PoC? We are signing the deal." I was like, wow, I felt like a donkey. I couldn't believe that. How did that happen? What happened? The PoC, in my opinion, yes, formally was a success, but honestly, my gut feeling was that this is never gonna persuade anyone. But it did. We won the deal. So what happened there? Well, we got the 3 basic questions answered before we started the PoC, and that PoC then was really pure validation. What are these 3 questions? The first question is, what does success look like to the person actually signing the check, to the economic buyer? The second question, what happens after the PoC is a success? And third, what would make them not sign the deal even if everything ran perfectly? Three simple questions. What were the answers in our case, in the case of the deal that we won after a messy PoC? What does success look like for the person signing the check? The person proves to the board that this very old company in the financial services sector that's been around for 100 years is capable of innovating without breaking the bank and without increasing risk for business. What do we do the very next day after the PoC is a success? Well, we had a really worked out plan, like who are the people involved, what are the next steps, who to call and who to talk to on the very next day. We also knew what would make them not sign even if we prove our tech works perfectly. And for them, it was of course the risk of failed migration. The company has been through several technology cycles, software breaks, and it requires skills and people to maintain it. And they've been burned several times. So what we did, we brought another customer from their line of business. They talked about their successful migrations with our product. And this is what lowered the risk. This is what put their mind at ease. That's it. When you have those questions answered, you probably have the deal if you don't terribly catastrophically mess the PoC. The next time you want to run a PoC, ask yourself the following question. Do I know the person who is actually signing the check, and do I understand what their goals are? If you don't have an answer to this question, this is where to start. Not with a test plan, not with a success criteria for the PoC.